two ancient civilizations, two colossal populations, two global giants with intertwined histories. For decades, the world watched India and China, asking, which one will rise to dominate the 21st century? Today, the answer seems clear. China has soared, becoming an economic superpower, while India, despite its incredible potential, often feels like it's still playing catch-up. But why? Is it just politics, culture, corruption, or something far more fundamental? In the mid-20th century, both India and China were emerging from periods of profound turmoil. India was newly independent, and China had just concluded its civil war. Both were largely agrarian, poverty-stricken nations. Yet, fast forward to today, and the divergence is stark. China boasts the world's second-largest economy, stunning infrastructure, and global manufacturing dominance. India, while growing, grapples with poverty, infrastructure gaps, and often an overwhelming sense of missed opportunity. Let's start with a major differentiator: diversity and unification. India is a dizzying tapestry of cultures. Over 1 billion people speak 22 official languages, hundreds of dialects, practice countless religions, and belong to thousands of castes and ethnic groups. This incredible diversity is India's soul, its strength, its resilience. But it is also, arguably, its greatest challenge. Building consensus in such a fragmented society is incredibly difficult. Governance becomes a constant balancing act between competing interests. China, while certainly diverse, is predominantly Han Chinese, about 92% of its population. The Communist Party, since its 1949 victory, has meticulously forged a strong, centralized, and largely unified national identity. The central government's authority is absolute. This allows for swift top-down policy implementation without the constant need for broad public consensus or appeasing diverse voter blocs. This fundamental difference in societal structure profoundly impacted their development paths. Perhaps the single most critical factor lies in their economic philosophies and global integration strategies. India, post-independence, largely adopted a socialist protectionist model, the infamous License Raj. Businesses faced immense bureaucratic hurdles. Foreign investment was largely unwelcome, and self-reliance was prioritized. While noble in intent, it led to decades of slow growth. It wasn't until the major economic reforms of 1991 that India truly began to open up, embrace market principles, and integrate with the global economy. But it had lost valuable decades. China, under Deng Xiaoping starting in 1978, took a radically different path. While maintaining political control, it strategically opened its economy. It created special economic zones, offered massive incentives to foreign companies, and invested heavily in infrastructure. China ruthlessly focused on becoming the world's factory. It embraced globalization with both hands, leveraging its massive labor force to produce goods for the entire planet. This pragmatic, export-led growth strategy propelled China into an economic orbit of its own. Hand in hand with economic policy is infrastructure development and urbanization. China's state-led model allowed for unprecedented investment in infrastructure. High-speed rail networks spanning thousands of miles, world-class airports, massive ports, and modern highway systems were built at breakneck speed. This not only created jobs, but also dramatically improved logistics, connecting factories to ports and workers to opportunities. Rapid planned urbanization absorbed millions, creating new cities and economic hubs. India, constrained by democratic processes, land acquisition challenges, and budgetary limitations, has struggled to keep pace. While significant strides have been made in recent years, the scale of the challenge for a population its size is immense. The lack of robust infrastructure often acts as a bottleneck, hindering growth and efficiency. This brings us to governance and corruption. Both nations have grappled with corruption, but the systems operate very differently. China's authoritarian single-party rule allows for extremely swift decision-making. If the leadership decides to build a dam, a city, or a factory, it happens. This efficiency, however, comes at the cost of individual freedoms, transparency, and accountability to the people. Corruption is dealt with brutally, but often opaquely. The government's sheer power means it can enforce policies with an overwhelming will to act. India's vibrant democracy, with its checks and balances, free press, and active judiciary, is its pride. But it often means slow, deliberative decision-making, coalition politics, and immense bureaucracy. Land acquisition, environmental clearances, and political consensus can delay projects for years, sometimes decades. Corruption, while a problem in both nations, manifests differently. In India, it's often more visible, decentralized, and openly debated in the media. However, it is also notoriously difficult to eradicate due to systemic issues. While generalizations are difficult, there are subtle differences in cultural emphasis. China, traditionally and under communism, has often emphasized the collective good, discipline, and national unity over individual expression. This has fostered a workforce capable of massive coordinated efforts. India, on the other hand, often champions fierce individualism, debate, and spiritual diversity. This fosters innovation, independent thought, and a vibrant civil society. However, it sometimes makes large-scale coordinated action more challenging. Both nations boast incredibly rich and ancient heritage. China's history is about dynasties, emperors, and grand unified empires. India's is a mosaic of diverse kingdoms, spiritual traditions, and pluralism. Both continue to leverage this heritage for tourism and national pride. So, what's the main difference that pulled China up and India comparatively down? It's not just one thing. It's the convergence of an authoritarian political system that enabled swift, decisive economic reforms, massive infrastructure investment, and a singular focus on export-led growth with a relatively unified populace. India's democratic system, while providing crucial freedoms and resilience, came with the inherent challenges of managing vast diversity, slower decision-making, and a protectionist economic model that it took decades to shed. But the story isn't over. India is now the fastest-growing major economy, with a vibrant startup scene, a young population, and a renewed push for infrastructure. Its democracy, once seen as a handicap, is now its core strength, providing stability and adaptability that China, for all its might, lacks in its rigid system. China, while powerful, faces its own unique challenges with an aging population, environmental degradation, and increasing global scrutiny of its political model. The race isn't over. It's just entered a new, more complex phase. The future will tell if India's democratic chaos can finally outpace China's centralized efficiency.